Mark Skaar on the Skaar Kaard on 103.7 The Fox. Proud to welcome in Kenneth Brian. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking. And you have a new record. It's out. It's called Keys to the Kingdom. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. It's been coming for a while. We recorded it before the pandemic, and it's nice to have it out finally and moving and doing what it needs to do. So happy to have it going.
And the first thing we've heard from it is a song called Falling Again. Tell me about that track.
It's a song I wrote when I was living out in West Hollywood. I was actually living right behind that club, The Whiskey. Directly behind it. Like, there was a parking lot in between the back of the club, The Whiskey, where the Doors and everybody used to play. And I lived on this, rooftop apartment right there with my girlfriend. And, I wrote a lot of songs right there. And that was one of them. And I had, pretty much had the whole song. And then the pre-production of it, we went into Steve Ferrone from the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers studio. And it was right after Tom died. And he brought Mike Campbell in as one of my heroes, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And so we started working on these songs, and Mike had some really cool ideas and licks like he always does, and I sort of did my own version of what he was doing with the lick, and it just sort of it happened quick, and when we cut the song, it was, I think, all the songs on the album we did no more than 4 takes, 3 or 4 times trying to record them and just try to capture the sort of the live feel, and I think we did really good on that. So it's definitely a mover and a shaker, it's definitely one that really jumps.
You certainly have your own style, but I know you're influenced by folks like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and being from that Gainesville area, there's just something in the water probably.
Yeah, man, there really is. I didn't know it growing up. I couldn't get out of here fast enough. I moved to Nashville when I was 20, and then I was in Austin. But coming back, I'm here right now. I'm back home right now, and I've been around for a little bit. And, man, it's such a cool area. It's got the Old South thing, but it's got the college, too. So you've got, a lot of old hippies and stuff. And there's 9 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members from Gainesville. I mean, it's insane. You have all the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers guys, and Bo Diddley and Stephen Stills went to high school here, Bernie Ledden, Don Felder. I mean, it's crazy. So there was a lot of bluegrass and country and stuff, and when I was growing up, and everybody could play. Like, the guy down the road could play fiddle, like Vassar Clements or whatever. So when I moved to Nashville, it wasn't such I wasn't so intimidated by everybody being able to play so amazingly, and it made me kind of jump in the water and just sort of go for it. And it's a great area for music, it really is. And Tom is, he's like the Mark Twain of American songwriters, I think, and I got to be around him the last few years of his life, and just one of the coolest people ever. Amazing guy.
Talking with Kenneth Brian about the new record, Keys to the Kingdom, and we were talking before we started rolling that this was recorded out in Joshua Tree at Rancho de la Luna Studio, which is Dave Ketching's studio, and it's really isolated.
It is. Joshua Tree is outside of L.A., technically it's 3 hours outside of L.A., but in L.A., in California with the traffic, it might take you 6. But you go out there, and they've got some old houses out there, and they've had them since the 90s. And Dave was in Queens of Stone Age and Eagles of Death Metal and a lot of different bands. And a lot of those bands have recorded some of their best stuff out there. And you never know who's going to show up. Billy Gibbons might show up or something and cut tracks, or Iggy Pop was out there. And, I mean, it's kind of amazing place. It's a really cool vibe. They got a lot of really cool old gear, and it's just somewhere where if you're that kind of a person that would like that, an environment like that, being out in the desert. And these guys are 90s rockers, man. I mean, there's baby doll heads and stuff all over the place, and things, cheetah or leopard print and hot rod stuff. And him and Dave and Hutch that used to run sound for the Queens of Stone Age have that studio, and it's a really, really cool place. Great people.
Going back to the songs, Kenneth, I understand that this record was really informed by your time in California.
Absolutely. I mean, it was great being out there. I was there for 6 years, and I'm sort of floating around now. I was back in Alabama, and now I'm in Florida, and I don't know if I'll end up working out there a lot. I'm not sure if I'll be back out living-wise or not, but I moved there. I lived in the Hollywood Hills for a while. We had the last house on stilts right next to, rappers and $20 million houses and stuff, and then we were in West Hollywood, and I moved out to found a little place out in Malibu, and we were there, me and my girlfriend, and just living on the beach out there and everything, and just an amazing place. And then in 2018, a fire came through and destroyed everything, took our house out, and I got my guitars and amps out of there, but I lost everything else I had. And, there's so many great things about California, and there's so many crazy things about it. And so it's sort of all those things mixed together, and, I really had a great time living out there, but there was definitely its pluses and minuses, and I think they're all in the songs, And so there's a lot of sort of Southerner expat people out there that kind of stick together and make it work, and good community of musicians that and it helped me get this thing together out there. So it's definitely got California all over it. But I can't get the swamp out of me, man. I'm from down here. I spent many of my years in Alabama too, working with Johnny Sandlin and a lot of the Muscle Shoals guys and all that. And so that Southern rock thing is always there, no matter where I'm at.
Talking with Kenneth Brian about the new record, Keys to the Kingdom. Tell me about your rhythm section. Of course, you're on guitar and vocals. Tell me about the other guys.
Man, I used the band I was using live at the time, which was Chris Cano, great drummer from L.A., played in a band called Orson and Ozo Motley and a few legendary L.A. bands. And when Steve Ferroni was playing with me and he went back on the road with Tom Petty, I said, well, I guess I'll start looking for a drummer. He said, no, I got the guy. And so Chris said he'd known Steve for 20 years and Steve had never recommended him for a gig, and he started playing with me, and just amazing drummer, great guy, became a really good friend of mine. And the bass player is Brandon Owens, and his brother Ike was a really good friend of mine, and Ike played keyboards with Mars Volta and Jack White and a bunch of different people, and he passed away a few years ago, and afterwards me and Brandon became really good friends, and he's a prodigy bass player. He was an upright jazz player, and so he does a lot of hip-hop and soul sessions and stuff, so it was kind of interesting to have these guys that sort of have a jazz and pop rock kind of background coming in with me and, adding different things, and we really just went at it and just, mixed everybody's talents all together and just really kind of hit it, man. It's just great guys. We had a great time hanging out there. It's no drama or anything. Everybody just loving being out in the desert and just good people hanging out making music.
One thing I really loved was right after the pandemic started, you started doing Facebook Live events, and those were really comforting at that point in time because there was so much uncertainty. And so it was nice to have that there once a week. I'm sure it's probably a similar feeling for you to be able to get that out and share that.
It really was, man. That was such a crazy time. I ended up doing a show up near San Francisco and then sort of getting stranded up in Northern California where my girlfriend's family is from. And it's hard to do those shows because we were up in the mountains, like Cobb Mountain, and the internet is worse than it is here at home out in the swamp. And so we were having a lot of just trying to figure all that out. But, man, it was really good because nobody knew what was going on. And at the beginning, this thing was, just decimating society and doing its thing and, killing a lot of people, and nobody knew what was going to happen. So it was just, nice to reach out, and it was funny because it's totally different, than playing live in front of people. It was great, but somehow it was really exhausting to, I come from coal miners and farmers, and every time I say something's exhausting, I play guitar for a living, so, I definitely have a reference point for real work, but I think because of everything was so heavy at that time, man, I think it was really good. I tried to give everything I had, and it's good to be able to do something for people during that time.
I know last summer you had the occasion to come out and play some gigs at Sturgis. How was that?
That was great. Man, it was after everything had sort of settled, except, in California everything was still locked down, and, in the Southeast everything was pretty much open, and, they decided to go ahead with Sturgis, and it was great, man. Everything, on the news they made it look like it was some crazy thing, and nobody was paying attention to any rules and this and that for COVID and everything, but it wasn't like that. Everything was outside, and, all of our shows were really cool, and everybody was, it was nice to see the world happening again, people interacting, and there was more than 1 million people there, too. It was crazy. There wasn't any fights or any, for a biker festival. I think everybody was just happy to be out, and the crowds were great, and it was just nice to be back out because COVID hit. We had 30, 40 shows booked, and then all of a sudden everything was canceled, and, so it was nice to just be back out playing music again. And Sturgis is always fun, man. That part of the country, you're not too far away from there, really.
Right.
And people are just good people. I mean, there's no BS up around there, man. People are straight up, and people are what they are, and they still love live music, and they love to come out and, you know, meet you and talk to you. And I mean, that's a cool thing. So we always love being up in Sturgis, man. It's a beautiful place too.
Talking with Kenneth Brian. So now the record is out. What's going to be up for 2022 for you?
We got some shows coming up, so a couple festivals, and some shows with Blackberry Smoke again, and hitting the road as much as we possibly can, and, you know, working this, just putting everything into this record, man. And I'm happy to be back in 2020, put everything in perspective for a lot of people, and I'm just happy to be back doing my thing. And no matter what you do, I mean, every day you get to get up and do what you love, or be around your family, or, you know, good friends or whatever. I mean, it's a blessing every day, and it's a blessing to be able to play music. So, I mean, I'm just happy to be doing this. I still love it like I did when I started playing when I was about 11 years old, and I still love it like I did back then, you know. Hoping to see everybody on the road. I'd love to get back up there. We played Des Moines one time at a festival, and we played Dubuque. I had a girlfriend from northern Illinois, and we used to play this little place in Dubuque all the time. And that's a really pretty area in the summer.
That caveat.
That's right. Oh, man.
Kenneth, if people want to buy the new record straight from you, they can do that. And anything else to keep kind of following you and your career, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, this new record and all my old stuff's on iTunes and Amazon and all that kind of stuff. And we have a couple songs coming out in the new, it's a John Travolta movie, Paradise City, that's coming out. That'll be neat. But yeah, I mean, you know, every little bit helps to keep the thing going. But, you know, it's available in the usual locations, and I'm just happy to be, you know, getting new music out and making new fans, and come out and see us if we're around, and, you know, just check out the music on iTunes and all that kind of stuff, wherever you get your tunes at.
Kenneth, thank you for the chat. We appreciate it, and all the best going forward.
Man, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you all up there soon, man. And take care. Thanks a lot.
For Kenneth Brian, I'm Mark Skaar. This is a Skaar Kaard on 103.7 The Fox.